Right, welcome to another Tactica and Showcase video. It's for the Space Wolves. I've been working on my final units to finish off my list for the Space Wolves. I've revamped the army, trying to improve the tactics for them, and then adding in a few new units to the main army that I already have. So in this episode here, we'll take a look at the Rune Priest. It's a new model that's being added in, and so we'll zoom in, take a look at the model, and then we'll check out the rules. I think if my calculations are correct, there's the potential of getting 33 attacks from this model in one turn, but we'll explain it as we go along. We'll go into the sort of the deep tactica and so on for this model, but it's a showcase video. So here is the model just here, just finished him off, put the last of the transfers on him last night, and then given him a spray of varnish here just to finish the model. So I'll zoom in so you can take a look. So there's the model. So most of the army, as you already know, I've got from Siege Studios, painted up on commission by them. They've done a great job. And then to revamp the army, there's a few new units that I've added, and so I've decided to paint them up myself. So this has really been the first time I've painted up Space Wolves using my own sort of techniques, trying to again keep in line with what Siege Studios have already done. But here he is, very happy with the result. This is the metal version of the model. I'm sure you can still get him in Finecast from Games Workshop, but I managed to track the metal one down. Quite reasonable price from eBay. If you want to look for one, that eBay seems to be a good place for second hand and sometimes new miniatures inside the box. But I do prefer the metal, just like the solid build to it. It's a bit more sturdy than the Finecast version. So added a few skulls to the base there, a few extra rocks. The usual urban basing technique for that. I reckon in the future I do hope to make a painting tutorial for the Space Wolves, so keep a lookout for that in the future, because I'm quite happy with this result here, and I'll be able to show you in that video how to achieve the same results. Now, see on the knee pad there, that is a transfer taken from the regular Space Wolves transfer sheet, so that went on just fine, and then one just here on this shoulder pad as well. But you know, I do like the way this guy's come out. Great character. I do plan to actually have him as the warlord here for this Space Wolves army, so he's a real pivotal unit here, and as I said at the start there, potential to dish out loads and loads of attacks potentially as we start to build up different combos that can work on him. So a vital unit here, one of the key, small model comparatively speaking to other units, you know, just one model, but he's going to be a pivotal unit for sure, right in the centre of my Space Wolves army. We'll zoom out here, take a look at the rules now for the Rune Priest. So I got to try him out recently in a battle report we filmed for the Plus channel. That will be out, if it's not already out, it'll be out very, very soon. They take on the Orks as a revenge match. We already played a mission against the Orks. It's sort of the older list with some standing units, and that was played a while ago on YouTube. And then just recently, very recently, just filmed a brand new battle featuring some of the new units, including this guy, against the Orks, and you get a chance to see how well he does. It's over on the Plus channel. So very excited about Space Wolves. They're a fantastic army. I like the way mine's gone. It's gone more towards the Space Wolves styled units. I've stayed away from regular sort of Space Marine units like Land Raiders and Rhinos and so on. I've avoided all of that and instead gone for more Space Wolf themed units like Thunderwolf Cavalry and so on. So yeah, here he is, Rune Priest. He's not too cheap. He's power level 6, taken from the HQ section, and then just through the chapter approved update here, he hasn't changed. He's 90. Oh, that's Primaris. We're looking for Rune Priest. Regular Rune Priest, 88 points here for regular Rune Priest. Of course, that's the combination I've gone for. The other options is to go for the Rune Priest in Terminator armor. That's dropped from 120 points to 102, and then the Rune Priest in Primaris as well, at 93 points. The tactic that I'm going to talk about here is not really going to affect. You know, you can go for any combination, any of those builds, and the rest of the tactic is going to fit in. No problem at all. But just trying to keep the cost down to some degree. I've just gone for the regular Rune Priest. Love the model anyway, so that's the one that I've gone for. So he does have a lot going for him. He really is a pretty decent HQ for sure. So the stat line then, movement is 88 points, movement 6, Weapon skill 2+, which is fantastic. To start on 2+ to hit is superb. Ballistic skill 3+, strength 4, toughness 4. He's got 4 wounds, he's durable enough. 3 attacks, which is okay, but that can be massively improved. Leadership 9, and then 3+ save. So he's armed with a runic axe, which is a superb weapon, bolt pistol, frag, and cracked grenades. So the runic axe is 12 points, but you're paying for something that's quite potent, especially if you can start pushing up the number of attacks that this guy can have. So the runic axe is +1 strength, very, very useful. It's going to fight at strength 5, so all those toughness 4 units out there is all of a sudden going to be wounding on 3+. AP -2, which will bite a nice chunk out of the armour, and then crucially, it's D3 damage every time. So, you know, if he gets in a fight with a character, any wounds coming for it, it's going to be D3 wounds every single time. He's pretty good. And there's a superb close combat weapon, for sure. Then it says here you can give him a psychic hood. So that's an extra 5 points for that if you want to pay for that. It's +1 to deny the witch tests, but it's against enemy psychers within 12. That's quite rare that happens. To keep his cost out, I don't bother with that upgrade, but if you've got spare 5 points in the army, then you can go for the psychic hood. Then he can take runic armour. So here is 7 points, for which it will give him a 5+ invuln save. Again, if you've got the spare points, I didn't really have the points this list to pay for that, so I haven't given him runic armour. But that is an option if you want to try and give him a 5+ invuln save, which may well prove useful if he's going to be in a fight against some nastier units for sure. He does only have 4 wounds. My thinking with him is that he plasters the opponent with so many attacks and slays them before they get a chance to fight back. I think that's his best chance, instead of trying to be durable. He's only got 4 wounds, you see, he's not really absorbed too much damage. This model may replace its runic axe with runic stave or sword. Its runic sword is cheaper, it's 10. Runic stave is 10, so they're both cheaper, they're 2 points cheaper. The stave gives you +2 strength, but it's only -1. So you'll fight at strength 6, and it's still D3 damage. The runic sword, you lose the plus to the strength, so you're fighting at strength 4, but you get AP -3 and D3 damage. I like the balance between a bit of strength, bit of ability to bite through the armour, so I'm going to stick with the axe, I think, and that's what the model's carrying anyway, so I'm totally happy with that. This model may replace its bolt pistol with a plasma pistol. A character with a plasma pistol is very useful to have behind your lines, just letting off some high-powered shots, and it's hard for the opponent to get to them. So do rate the plasma pistol. You can use it in close combat as well, and it can be overcharged to dish out a bit of extra damage also. So I rate it, and it's pretty cheap. Yeah, 7 points. It's now 5 points with chapter approved, so I would see that as a higher value option to take, just to give him that pistol. It's not on here, so it'll be in the main stat line. Yeah. Plasma pistol should be range 12. Yeah, it's range 12. It's decent enough reach to it. Strength 7 -3 1 damage, and you can overcharge it to strength 8 -3 and 2 damage. On a 1, the bear is slain. If you've got a character nearby, you can re-roll that, and that's quite unlikely that's going to happen. But be a little bit careful about that. But I would only overcharge it if you had the ability to re-roll 1s from some other character nearby, or if you really wanted to use a command reroll and have one of those on standby. So 88, 100 for the axe, 105 points for the plasma pistol you're looking at. This is the final cost for him. So yeah, that's the final cost. This model may take a jump pack. If it does so, its movement characteristic becomes 12 and it gains the jump pack and flight. Again, that's another option you can take. I haven't gone for that, but if you really feel the need for speed, then you can go for that one. But my main priest is to advance with the infantry on foot, so I'm happy enough just for him to be on foot. But maybe as a bit of a surprise attack, having being able to jump out all of a sudden is tactically would be pretty useful. So that'd be pretty good. Wolf Priest. Just seeing Rune Priest. Rune Priest. Rune Priest, turn time. Rune Priest with a jump pack. Right, 112 points. And you're paying a fair bit more just to grant that extra movement. But again, tactically it could be pretty useful. But 105 I'm paying for the Sky. I'm happy enough with that. So, they should have no fear. Covered all these, covered all that. So he can manifest 2 psychic powers. He's a decent enough psyker. He's going to get smite straight away. And then he can... he knows 2 powers from Tempestus Discipline. And he can deny 1 psychic power. So your standard sort of librarian equivalent here for the Space Wolves. So I think we'll look at the powers first of all for this guy. We're gradually going to build up the enhancements that this model can take. And you'll see how I've reached the idea of getting 33 attacks, you know, at its extreme, with some stratagems and so on. So we'll go to Tempestus. There's a couple of ones that I like. So it is, yeah, well, this is a pretty good one. Tempest Wrath here. Walk charge value of 6. Quite easy to make that one go off. Choose a unit within 24. It's -1 to hit rolls. So useful if your army's trying to close the ground, doesn't want to be shot at too bad, -1 to hit rolls. It's not too potent, just -1, that's it, but it's be useful enough. I do like Murderous Hurricane. So walk charge value of 5. Very easy to make this one go off. If it does, you select a visible unit within 18. My army's quite aggressive, so expect to get within range of units quite quickly. You roll 1 dice for each model in that unit, and he rolls with 6 mortal wounds. So great against hordes, large units, you know, 10-man unit of Chaos Space Marines, 20 Gene Stealers in a unit. Very, very useful. So I like Murderous Hurricane. Doesn't always work though if the whole enemy's army's mech'd up inside vehicles, then all of a sudden it's not too useful. Then Fury of the Wolf Spirits, and this is how you start boosting up your attacks for this guy. Fury of the Wolf Spirits has a walk charge value of 7, sort of an average amount you need to make it go off. If manifested, the Rune Priest gains the following weapons at the start of your next psychic phase. So, Frecky and Gary, Strength 5, AP -3, 1 damage. After the Rune Priest makes its close combat attacks, you get your regular 3 attacks. You can then attack with Frecky and Gary, so it's additional, and it's an additional 6 attacks using this profile. So all of a sudden he's going to get 6 extra attacks, 2s to hit, Strength 5, AP -3. It's a flurry of attacks coming from him. And it lasts until the next psychic phase, so you're going to get it on your own turn, through into the opponent's turn, all the way through to the start of your next psychic phase. So it's pretty potent, that one. And all of a sudden he's got 3 attacks, all of a sudden he's got an extra 5. Yeah. So, pretty good. So, the next one is Stormcaller. This one's quite useful for helping the entire army. Stormcaller has a walk charge value of 8. I like the whole idea of this, as this Space Wolves army is moving out and attacking, there's a whole storm going on, there's rain and lightning and a blizzard, and it's hard to see the Space Wolves as they're coming sort of shrouded, cloaked by the storm. So this is a psychic power that sort of reflects that. The walk charge value of 8 though. It's quite difficult to make this one go off. That's any problem. If manifested, until the start of your next psychic phase, the psycho and any friendly Space Wolves units within 6 of him gain the benefit of being in cover. So you'll grant cover to all the units that are nearby. See, the downside is if you keep your army tight, it's useful because you're going to keep as many units as close as possible. They're all getting cover. That's useful enough. If your army starts to spread out, and that may well start to happen in the game because you're trying to make contact with enemy units, they could be spread out. Units start to stretch across the board. Then you don't have many units near him, then this isn't as effective. So there are limitations to that Stormcaller, but useful enough. Not sure about that one. You know, on average, that power is not going to go off. That's the problem with that one, because a value of 8 is quite high, whereas you go for lower powers, which may not be quite as potent, but at least they're going off every turn. So I'm thinking something like Yeah, I mean, Living Lightning's similar to Smite, but if you wipe out the unit, then it moves on to another unit, and another further D3 mortal wounds, and so on, and you keep going with that one. Living Lightning's pretty useful. There's plenty of powers to experiment with here. So Murderous Hurricane as well. Jaws of the World Wolf. Its water charge value of 7. Again, maybe not, because you want ones that are easier to go off. 5 and 6 is very reliable psychic powers. If manifested, select an enemy unit with 18, other than a vehicle, roll 2d6 and subtract the target's movement characteristic. That target unit suffers a number of mortal wounds equal to the result. So, yeah, potent one there as well. So, yeah, difficult choice here, but plenty of area for experimentation. But I pretty much will be taking Fury of the Wolf Spirits, those extra 6 attacks. I think every time it's going to be one of the standard ones that I take. So I wanted a bit of a surprise unit. The opponent sees him, just a regular psychic, they think, oh, it's just sort of a standard librarian, all of a sudden chucking out loads and loads of attacks. So bearing that in mind, you also want to make one of these powers easy to go off, because, and I'll just show you one of the stratagems here. Yeah, and the point of these videos is just to help you get the most out of these units here. Yeah, it's Cloaked by the Storm. It's very expensive. It's 3 command points. Use a stratagem in your psychic phase. Choose a rune priest from your army that successfully manifested a psychic power. So again, you want one that's easy to manifest. Your opponent must subtract 1 from all hit rolls for ranged attacks that target friendly Space Wolves units within 6 until the beginning of your next psychic phase. That is very useful. It's costly in command points, but if you keep your army tight and the units within 6 of the rune priest, everything's on. They're all going to be on -1 to hit them. That would be extremely useful. Even just to protect you, maybe on turn 1, maybe there's not always as much damage on turn 1, but turn 2 especially, that area when perhaps the army is the most exposed as it's moving across, -1 to hit rolls, is very, very useful. So there's that stratagem to bear in mind, but it is expensive, 3 command points. So then what we do is try and improve the base number of attacks this guy has. So I do that by taking a relic, and I make him the Warlord as well. So the relic is just here, just past them. Yeah, it's here, it's the Wolf and Stone. So you make 1 additional attack for models in friendly Space Wolves, infantry, biker and cavalry units faster than 3 inches of the bearer when they make their attacks in the fight phase. It says units of Wolfen not affected, nor units that made a charge within range of Curse of the Wolfen. Ability in the turn. Additional unit can't be affected by both Curse of the Wolfen and the Wolfen Stone in the fight phase. So that Wolfen ability doesn't overlap onto this. But it's just +1 attack. So there's no charge required or any other kind of combination. You just units within 3. Again, giving you a big incentive to keep units packed tight to this guy to receive those benefits. He'll benefit from his own 3-inch bubble, so his attacks will go from 3 up to 4. So now we've reached 10 attacks potentially in a turn. If you've got the psychic power activated, that's 6 attacks. Then your base attacks here have gone up now to 4, so 10 attacks. The final extra attack comes from the Warlord traits, which Games Workshop released an update here. Just take it from this sheet. So you go to Saga of the Wolfkin. If the unit is affected by this saga in the fight phase, add 1 to the attack's characteristic of all its models if it made a charge move, was charged or performed heroic intervention earlier in the same turn. So he needs to charge, but if he does, then he'll get an extra attack. So all of a sudden on the charge, he'll get 5 attacks, which makes it 11 attacks in one fight phase. And then the Deed of Legends needs to slay a total of 5 models in the fight phase. Keep a tally from turn to turn, so you can stack up the number. He kills 3 one turn, kills 2 the next, something like that. Once he reaches that tally, units within 6 will get the +1 attack as well. All of a sudden you're starting to stack up with Wolfenstone and this one. I believe you can pair the 2 together. Units within 6 are going to be getting 2 extra attacks on the charge. And for some units that's doubling the number of attacks they're going to get, so terrifyingly good. And really start to multiply the effectiveness of your army when you start adding +1 attack, +1 attack. You know, units of 10 with 20 attacks all of a sudden dishing out 40 attacks on the charge, are doubling their effectiveness because of some uses there of a relic and a Warlord trait. And remember, every base attack that he gets extra, that's coming through on that axe, which is D3 damage. So, a potential of 5 D3 damage. God, it's pretty good. So that's reached your total. If the psychic power goes off and he makes a charge, that's 11 attacks. Then simply to get that huge number of attacks, you just make use of the stratagems, which is sort of standard for the Space Marines here on the chapter. So use the stratagem at the end of the fight phase, select Space Force infantry, biker or cavalry unit in your army. You can immediately fight against 3 command points. So that's 11 attacks, and then 11 attacks again, because remember that psychic power lasts until the next psychic phase. And then to get the extra 11 attacks, it depends on him being slain. And if he is slain, then you can play... yeah, scared me then. I did almost what it was in the codex is here. Only in Adeptus duty end. 2 command points. If he dies, play 2 command points. And then it's Space Wolf's character, which is from your army is slain. That model can immediately either shoot as if it were the shooting phase, or fight as if it were the fight phase before it's removed from the battlefield. So there it is. That's the extra 11 attacks. That's a total of, and I believe I've got this correct, 33 potential attacks that this guy can have in a single turn. So maybe the fact that he is a bit vulnerable to being slain isn't such a bad thing. That if he dies, he can go out of a blaze of, or a flurry of attacks from his axe. Absolutely terrifying. So it's sort of the secret weapon here of the Space Wolves armies. Not only is he absolute crazy in close combat, psychic powers are pretty good, and he's granting extra bonuses to units nearby. So all for 105 points. I think he's no wonder he was recommended heavily by subscribers on the Plus channel, and also people making comments on the YouTube battle reports and Space Wolves videos as well. So very happy to have this guy in the list. Okay, so I've got a scenario lined up here. Let's say that there's a point in the game where he has to charge in here. There's no choice. The game's escalated here. There's other combats going on. Ideally, he's meant to be there, buried in the behind your lines, dishing out his psychic powers, buffing other units. But then there comes a point where you're going to commit him to the fight. So there's a large unit of Ork boys here, 15 of them, with a knob there with a big chopper, and a tank buster bomb. The rest are armed with sluggers and choppers. So I'm going to charge him in. So tank buster bomb, 1 shot, misses, and then we'll do 14 shots here. That's 13, so just going to reroll another one. It's 2 hits, which generates an extra 2 shots, another 1 hits. So 3 still wound, 2 wounds come through, and he may well take a wound here. No, he's passed, he's okay. So we'll charge him in. 3 inches, just about, that's going to put him in, no problem. We'll leave him just like so. So we'll say his psychic power's gone off. So remember that's going to be those 6 extra attacks with Frecky and Gary. And then we've given all the buffs that I talked about earlier. So on the charge with the Wolfenstone and the Deed of Legend that he has, which is Saga of the Wolfkin, and he'll get his 5 attacks base. So we'll go with those first. 2's to hit. 3's to win because it's strength 5, that's the great thing. Bit of a poor show there, but 2 have gone through. With the AP minus, there's going to be 2 Ork boys removed straight away. Then these 6 attacks. Then 2's. And it's strength 5 again, minus 3. So 3. It's pretty poor as well. Look, failed those, but still 3 get through. So another 3 Ork boys slain. So he's hacked his way through 5 of them. Now think of that, regular Rune Priest without any bonuses at all will just be boasting 3 attacks only. So even with a bad result, he's managed to take out 5 just there. So I'll put the Ork boys, we'll pile them in for their attacks now. So fight with the knob. Gets 2 hits. I'll play it as Goths, that's what I usually play. So just that extra attack. 1 wound comes through, 4 up save. No, D3 damage will be 3. So Rune Priest has nearly died. That may well prove to illustrate here what he can do. So he's got 3 wounds. Just mark that up. So I'll use my skull markers here. And then the Ork boys here. 3, 6, 8, and 9. So 27. 27 attacks coming through here. So 27 attacks, he may well die here. That big chopper, by the way, is 2 damage, not D3. So he's still got 2 wounds left. So he might survive. Even if he dies, maybe we'll illustrate what we're trying to demonstrate here. Take away all the misses. There's some bonus hits. So I'll play him as Goths. Yeah. It's going to be an extra 4 attacks. That was a 6. 5 attacks, actually. Which will hit except 1. It's going to be 4s to wound. I'll reroll this one. Okay. So it's an exceptionally good roll. Looks like the Rune Priest is going to be taken out here. I've got to pass loads of saves. Failed 2. Alright, so let's say I've run out of command points and he dies. But could easily have command rerolled that. So he's slain. I then play only in Adeptus duty and I'm going to fight again. So 5 attacks. It was the turn in which he charged, so 2s to hit. And 3s to kill. Poor Shone again, not rolling very well these dice. Kill 1. And then freaking Gary gets to fight again here. They've all hit. And this is better. Yeah, 4. It's AP -3, so he's hacked down. And there's a chunk ripped out of that Orc Boys unit. So, not too bad. Pretty bad dice roll in there, but illustrates for you how he's able to hack his way through a load of models quite quickly. So maybe a lesson there, not to be too over ambitious with him if you want to keep him alive. He did okay against the Orc Boys there. I'd imagine he'd be a pretty good character assassin. You know, whilst your other units are taking on larger targets, and nastier targets perhaps, he'd be useful just to sneak in and try and take on characters. So we've got Gut Stitcher here, can try and remove all the wounds from him. The odds are you should be able to hack your way through against him, no problem. So 5 attacks on the charge. We'll say our psychic powers there as well. But hopefully the runic axe is going to be enough to deal out the damage. They're all hit apart from 1. 3s to wound. 3 have got through. AP -2, and it's 3d3 damage. And that's going to be 4 wounds taken on the Pain Boy. Now he's going to get his 6s to try and ignore damage. Yes, he is slain unless he passes one of these. There he is, he's got it. Alright, so the Pain Boy survives. 1 wound left. Then you got freaking Gary. Try and finish him off. All hit. 3s to wound. Strength 5, yep. And need 4 6s. No, alright, so character's slain. And that's a lot more effective because you've taken the character out. The character's not had a chance to launch any attacks back at all. Mission accomplished, and then he can bury himself back again in amongst other units that are fighting nearby. So you see the difference there. I think that's a much more effective way of using him, because then you keep him alive, and he's then able to continue to grant his bonuses and continue on with the psychic powers from one turn to the next. So only in desperate circumstances, despite all of the bonuses that he's getting for close combat, only going perhaps for more assured kills than riskier combats against larger units. So I think that illustrates quite nicely how he should be used tactically in a game. But that's pretty much all the tactics there that I can think of. That's the combo I'm going to go for. So when you see him being used in games, my Space Wolves army, expect to see him right in the eye of the storm, the centre of the Space Wolves army, buried in amongst the different units. And then if I tactically try and play it right, I won't commit him till I really have to close combat, but the potential's there for him to fight really effectively. And then to try and get as many turns as possible, dishing out those psychic powers. I'll try and use some ones that are easier to manifest. Smite's easy enough. A couple of the other ones that we saw, and then maybe try and make use of that -1 to the hit rolls. If units within 6, stratagem would be very useful indeed. But loads of potential from this guy. Very, very useful unit indeed to aid and help your Space Wolves army. So there he is. Keep a lookout for more tactics videos. Keep a lookout for the brand new Space Wolves list. The army's virtually ready here to be finished off at 2K, chapter approved, some new units added in, and so it's an exciting time for the Space Wolves on both the channels at the moment. There it is, that's the video. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time.